Welcome back. About a week ago, 274 Israeli nationals were evacuated from Nigeria, a move that's been connected to the COVID-19 situation in the country, for which the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema, says is because these ones are more familiar with the health systems in their countries. More foreigners are still trying to make their way out of the country. The US, UK, and some citizens of EU countries have been working on getting chartered flights out so they can be in their home countries during this time. Let's not forget that the number of cases of COVID-19 are rising astronomically in the United States and are expected to peak in the coming weeks. Italy and Spain are the new epicenters of the disease in Europe, where most countries are on lockdown, and the Israeli government has made it mandatory for people to wear face masks when out in the public, and also to go into quarantine when they arrive. So the decision to leave or not, what does that mean? Ambassador Akin Fayomi has more than 30 years experience in the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He joins us now from Abuja. Ambassador, thank you for joining us on the program. What do you make of the decision to travel home to home countries during this time, whether it is Nigerians returning back home here or it's foreigners who are leaving the country?
Yes, I believe that it's better for people to go back home if they want to. It's a choice that an individual has the right to make. When you are in a foreign country, particularly when you are not a permanent resident, it might be better for you to want to be with your families or back to the office, working from home and all that. Don't forget that people coming in here during this time, they didn't plan that there were going to be anything like coronavirus pandemic. So some people came in and they have to go back and they are more or less stranded here. And it is much better. I believe it is not a bad idea if countries want to evacuate their citizens to go back home where they are more familiar, where they have the medical facilities that they are already used to, and where their loved ones are there. It's not that if they are going there and because they've caught the virus, no, they are going there out of choice to be in the environment that they are very much used to. Likewise, Nigerians that are going to come back, if they want to come back, for now, I don't think we've got any request from any Nigerian in any of our missions abroad that they want to come back. But that's the condition. There must be compilation by the various Nigerian embassies abroad, and then the Minister of Foreign Affairs, from what the Foreign Minister said in one of the press briefings a couple of days ago. The missions will compile, and then government will see how they will coordinate the whole essence of evacuation. Don't forget that people are scattered in various capitals of the world. Paris, London, Washington, Beijing itself, and Australia, they are here and there. So Nigerians are everywhere, and you can't send a plane to each country to pick up 3-4 people. So there must be some coordination, and I think that's what the Minister of Foreign Affairs was talking about. But as of now, I don't think we've gotten any particular request from stranded Nigerians that want to come back home.
This situation is quite unprecedented. I mean, the world hasn't seen this for over 30, 40, 50 years maybe. But for some of us, we've never ever witnessed it in our lifetime. And the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, says that the nearest he can compare this to is the Second World War. Is it safer then for foreigners to remain in host countries, or does it mean anything when large numbers say that they want to leave?
I quite agree with what the UN Secretary General, Mr. Guterres, is saying. It is quite an unprecedented event. Indeed, nobody alive would say has witnessed something like this before. Of course, we've had so many plagues here and that, the Spanish flu, the bubonic plague and all that, but they've all been some 100 years plus now. So indeed, yes, it's something that the world has not witnessed before. Yes, it is like a war. Indeed, it's like anything that pandemic that affects the whole world is like a third world war, so to say. But be that as it may, evacuation of nationals, like I said, it's earlier on, it's individual rights that they have to exercise. The countries themselves are not saying we are forcibly removing our citizens. No, The citizens themselves, for instance, I'm talking of the Americans, the British, the Germans, the French that are living in Nigeria, or the Israelis, the citizens appeal to their governments and said that they would like to be evacuated back home, where they feel more familiar, where they have families, where they have loved ones, where they have maybe their jobs. Some of them came here just on short trips. They are not meant to be here. They are not permanent residents in Nigeria. So it's not. They are going does not have any significant impact on Nigeria's foreign relations with these countries. It does not mean that we are at war. It does not mean that they are evacuating their people out of war fears. And neither does it mean that we are sending them away or driving them away because we are at war with their countries. No, not at all. This is something that calls for collective responsibility by all nations. And if it means that they have to go back home, they have the right to do so.
Could you talk us through what would be the diplomatic protocol for such a move as this?
Indeed. It is just what we have seen happening. From Nigeria alone, we've had the Israelis charter the plane and took their citizens, the ones that want to go. Emirates also carried some back to Dubai, the French, the British, the Germans, the Americans. I think there was even a failed attempt by the Americans to do that. There is no specific protocol. The protocol is more or less an agreement which is already there that anybody can leave at any time you have business to do here. And don't forget, like I mentioned much earlier, these are not permanent residents in Nigeria, like ambassadors and diplomats and aid workers who say defeat and all that. They are residents in Nigeria. They have immunity to stay in Nigeria here. They have passes issued by Ministry of Foreign Affairs, diplomatic ID cards, plate numbers, and all that stuff. So if they want to leave, those diplomats, then there is protocol they have to follow, which means getting the foreign ministry involved. But in the case of individuals that are living in either singly or collectively, what they need to do is what has already been done. The Ministry of Aviation, which closed the airports and have given them emergency permits, which they are due to an exemption from the rules, so they can easily allow the aircraft coming to pick them to come into our airspace, land, ferry them out after a few hours, and they are gone. So and then if, for instance, again, they require something else, like if one of them is sick or not, they will not be allowed to go out, because the port health officials are also at the airports to ensure that somebody who is probably having the symptoms of the virus, that means he's going to expose to people in the air for about 8 hours flight, 300 people, 200 people in the plane. Obviously, that person will be stopped down quarantine.
We have heard, other analysts say at the end of the coronavirus pandemic, a new world order will emerge. Do you agree?
Yes, it would be nice if a new world order emerges from this pandemic. You can see that it has even brought mankind together. We've had everybody is affected, every country. It has humbled every country, even the superpowers and all that. Russia, China, the Americans, British, the European Union itself. Everybody is putting hands together and working hand in hand to find a cure for this virus. If that is the kind of new world order that emerges that is beneficial to humankind, I think I would personally welcome it very much. You can see it brought everybody together, even individually, and then as families in individual countries, and then country to country, and then continent to continent. We are all in it together. As the Ethiopian Prime Minister also mentioned in one of his write-ups, it has brought Africa also together, because it's not one country's epidemic, it's now a pandemic which encompasses the whole world. So indeed, scientists from all over the world are working together, racing against time, trying to find a cure for this virus. Don't mind the politicking and the politicization of the crisis, because people are saying it's from China, the Americans are blaming the Chinese are blaming the American scientists that it's a biosafety issue, a virus escaped from one lab somewhere. All that is beside the point. The good thing out of this pandemic, if you can call it that, is that the whole world is working together, trying to find a solution that will be beneficial to mankind.
Thanks again, Ambassador Akin Fayomi, for joining us on the program. And that's the program today. I'm glad you could join us, and God willing, you will join us again next week. I am Amarachi Ubadi. Goodbye now.